Hello and welcome to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage, everybody. Welcome back. I have been gone for quite a while and doing new things here with the channel, trying to get some new things going, but I'm trying to get some here, new video updates for you guys for the weather forecast on here. So I'll try to be more vigilant in getting that out here, all that information out here through the next week or two. But today we do have a significant severe weather event that is unfolding today, and especially here as we head into our Memorial Day, and then here continuing all the way through the middle and end of next week here. So we'll kind of dive into all the the setups for the severe weather, the heavy rain setups here, and kind of break down all the risks here with tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail, the expected here hazards with the storms. Also here some heavy rainfall, which could lead to some flash flooding as well here each day across these areas. So do welcome myself back. Do remember to hit that subscribe button and do like my video here at the end, because this is going to be a very informative video. I do appreciate you guys watching here. Like I said, I've been gone for a while, but I am back here, and I'm trying to get more video updates for you guys here to kind of stay ahead of all the storms as we head through the rest of May here into June and July, as we have a lot of holidays coming up. We got the Memorial Day coming up. We got the 4th of July, Father's Day. We got a lot of stuff coming up here, so I do want to keep you ahead of all the storms here. And with even the tropics starting to, heat up across the Gulf and the Atlantic and even the Pacific side, I'm going to here try and get you ahead of all that weather here with more video updates here in the future as well. But looking at today here, we do have an enhanced risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center here on their day one outlook from central and southern portions there of Minnesota, getting down to far northwestern Iowa, southeastern South Dakota, and then inching its way back west-southwestward here into portions of northeastern and northern Nebraska. We do have a slight risk zone and a marginal risk zone kind of outside of that into portions of Minnesota, getting down here into the eastern Dakotas, western portions there of Nebraska, and then that marginal risk zone extending back into the northern and central Rockies here into northern portions of Colorado, southeastern Wyoming as well. And then as we head into our Monday, this is a pretty significant risk. The Storm Prediction Center in their overnight outlook and even in the morning update here, they did include a day 2 moderate risk of 4 out of 5 for portions of west central Minnesota into far northeastern here, South Dakota, and then a fairly large enhanced risk here across much of Minnesota into the eastern Dakotas here, far northwestern Iowa, and then a slight risk extending down into central Iowa, eastern Nebraska, northwestern Missouri, and all the way down here into portions of central and eastern Kansas, maybe even far northwestern Oklahoma as well. So fairly significant here. Next couple of days is on tap. And then even as we head into our Tuesday, we have a marginal risk zone all the way up into portions of southwestern and southern Ontario, all the way down here into portions of, Illinois. We got a slight risk of severe weather into south central Wisconsin, northwestern and western Illinois, eastern Iowa, and then getting down here into portions of the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma. But then within that, we do have an enhanced risk of severe weather across portions of north central Missouri into eastern Kansas and far northeastern portions there of Oklahoma, and that might even be expanding a little bit more here in coverage with that enhanced risk here in the coming days. So we'll have to see here how the Storm Prediction Center decides to play this out as we head through the time. Looking at today, though, we do have a cold front across portions of the eastern Dakotas. This will be swinging on here kind of to the east through Minnesota and portions of northwestern Iowa, eastern Nebraska here through the day. And ahead of that, we do have a lot of warm and moist air. We do have temperatures rising well into the 70s, some lower 80s, even some upper 80s to near 90 down into the central plains here, some hundreds down here into Texas. So a lot of fuel being pulled up to the north here with a lot of warm air and a lot of moisture here as the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico here, some open water trajectories here with dew points rising all the way up into the mid and upper 60s across this area will be conducive to convective available potential energy or instability, if you will, rising well into the 2,000, maybe even 3,000 plus range here across portions of the eastern Dakotas, down into eastern Nebraska, western and northwestern Iowa, and then inching its way into the north here into portions of Minnesota as well. We got some untapped air across portions here of, Kansas getting down to Oklahoma, but no forcing, no lift across those areas, no trigger to get these storms going in that kind of higher caped environment. So this area will likely be pretty capped to the atmosphere here as we have in the the low and mid levels here for storms. So probably not seeing much in the way of storms across these areas as we head into our the afternoon today. But looking at the composite reflectivity, late this afternoon, we are seeing some quiet weather, but as we head toward the evening hours here around the dinner time frame tonight, got some, isolated, discrete supercells developing across the eastern Dakotas, western portions there of Minnesota, and then these will slide to the east and northeast here and start to consolidate as they do through the evening as a very powerful low-level jet starts to punch right into these storms here from the south and west, and these storms will grow upscale kind of into a squall line or a semi-organized squall line as we head up into Minnesota and then down into northwestern Iowa, northeastern portions there of Nebraska. And with the hazards with these storms could have, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, perhaps even some, 2 to 3 inch size hail here, tennis ball, maybe up to baseball size hail today. And then also here the threat of a couple of tornadoes as well, especially with those initial storms. And then these storms will kind of train over the same areas here with an attendant heavy rain threat. So do want to not discount the flash flooding potential across these areas as these storms move over the same areas here all the way through our Memorial Day here morning hours, and we got some elevated storms back into portions of the northern plains as we head toward the morning hours on Memorial Day. But like I was alluding to earlier, we do have a day one excessive rainfall outlook here. The Weather Prediction Center has put out a marginal risk for flash flooding across much of Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas, portions of northwestern Iowa, and portions there in Nebraska getting back toward the Intermountain West. We do have a chance for some training of thunderstorms, a lot of heavy rain across these areas. And generally speaking, just today alone, we could have, up to upwards of an inch of rainfall across portions of Minnesota, the Dakotas getting back into northern and northwestern portions there of Nebraska. So some pretty heavy rainfall at that. And then that will conclude today's threat. But then as we head into our Memorial Day here, a holiday, a lot of people will be outside enjoying the outdoors, maybe some swimming pools, maybe some, outdoor grilling, some stuff here, the activities outdoors. And I do want to make you aware that there is a level 4 of 5, a moderate risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center's Day 2 outlook across west central portions there of Minnesota, and then a large zone of enhanced risk across mainly the rest of Minnesota, getting into the eastern Dakotas, northwestern Iowa there, and then that slight risk zone extending down into the central and southern plains into Kansas and to portions of far northern and northwestern Oklahoma as well. We do have a fairly significant zone of a 30% here and even enhanced risk of wind across the area here into central Minnesota, the far eastern Dakotas. We could have wind gusts up to 90 miles per hour with these storms as we head into our Memorial Day afternoon and evening. And then also here 15 to 30% and then even enhanced risk for hail across that frontal zone here all the way down into the central plains and then northward here into Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas, western Iowa. We could have hail that could be up to 3 inches or so in diameter, which is the equivalent to a large apple or even baseball size. So some very large hail, even some giant hail, is definitely not out of the question. And then it's been a while since I've seen this. We do have a 10 to even 15% tornado risk in quite a large area. Also a very large area in that 10 to 15% zone of tornadoes. We do have a significant hatch tornado risk here where we could have, EF2 to EF5 strength type tornadoes. So some very serious tornado threat is starting to potentially unfold as we head into Monday afternoon, the Memorial Day, and into the Monday evening here on Memorial Day as well. And how this is going to be fed, we have a lot of warmth here pushing up from the south once again. Temperatures rising well into the 70s to the 80s, some mid-80s to the south and the mid-Mississippi Valley. And then we have a lot of, dew points rising well into the 60s, lower 70s across this area here. So very buoyant atmosphere is expected. And we have, instability growing here to the 3,000 plus here range, maybe even locally up to 4,000 joules per kilogram. So that is a lot of instability, some strong to even extreme levels of instability for the storm here to really grow. And then additionally, we do have a very unseasonably strong low-level and mid and upper-level jet pushing through these areas here, punching right into this storm system here, and we have shear values approaching 90 knots here into portions of Minnesota, eastern Dakota, into portions of Iowa and Nebraska. So a very significant mid and upper level jet pushing in, and we'll be showing this here on the composite reflectivity mid-afternoon tomorrow, early to mid-afternoon. Some elevated storm potential here across the the central and northern plains, getting across Iowa, southern Minnesota. Maybe some gusty winds, maybe some heavy rain and small hail with these storms. Nothing to worry about. Then attention will shift here with some clearing potentially here into portions of Minnesota and Iowa during the late morning and the afternoon hours, increasing that instability, increasing that moisture and the warmth across the area with a very unstable atmosphere expected. We got some elevated storms starting to pop up across the South Dakota, North Dakota, and getting down into western and central Nebraska here as we head toward late in the afternoon. Then as we head toward very late afternoon, 4, 5, 6 o'clock into the evening hours, we are going to see an explosion of thunderstorms across these areas. And where you can see the storms that are more discrete here across Minnesota, getting down here into portions of the eastern Dakotas, we could have some very strong tornadoes, the EF2 to EF5 strength tornadoes, winds that could be up to 90 miles an hour. And like I said, that up to 3 or so inch diameter hail, which could be up to around baseball size. So do want to take that seriously. And then these storms will kind of pivot to the east, really centered on Minnesota here as we head toward the evening hours down into northern and western Iowa. We got to watch these storms kind of transitioning more to a damaging wind threat here as we head through the evening. And this will really start to push off here into portions of eastern Minnesota into northwestern Wisconsin. We may be dealing with kind of a bow echo or type of very strong, powerful squall line pushing through these areas here from northeastern Minnesota into western Wisconsin and down into central Iowa here. Got to watch some of these storms even into central Iowa if they can become discrete enough for some tornadoes down that way here as well. Like I said, the supercell composite value is very high for this time of year as well here. Some pretty high values showing up. Also some very widespread values of the significant tornado parameter showing up, and values that are all the way up here on the top end of the scale on the higher side. So that is why the Storm Prediction Center is confident in that enhanced and moderate risk zone. And that moderate risk might even be expanding here in the coming days, or in the coming hours rather. And we really will have to see how that works. Maybe even a high risk. So we'll have to see how that works out here. Pretty widespread area as we head into our Memorial Day, so we want to be mindful of that. I did take a sounding of far eastern South Dakota, and you are seeing some pretty nasty here photograph across this area. Storm tops that could be reaching up to around 50, 60,000 feet. We do have a PDS tornado tag here on this, so some pretty nasty classic supercellular structures possible here. A little bit of a capped atmosphere in the low levels, but a very dry mid-level of the atmosphere, so some very big hail is expected with these storms, especially when you got instability over 3,000 joules per kilogram. We got winds at the surface out of the south and east. You go up a few thousand feet here to the mid-level, straight out of the south, and then southwesterly in the upper levels. So some very strong wind shear here across the area, some speed shear, some directional shear, and also here some very strong, just low and mid-level winds across these areas will really be pushing these storms along. And then in addition to the severe weather threat, we do have a flash flooding threat, which is another side of severe weather across, portions of Minnesota into the eastern Dakotas through much of South Dakota. Here a slight risk for flash flooding. The Weather Prediction Center has put out another slight risk here into portions of southwestern Iowa, getting into northwest Missouri, southeastern Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, and then a very large marginal risk zone covering here much of the northern plains and the upper Midwest as we head into our Monday Memorial Day for flash flooding. And like I said, some heavy rainfall here along this swath here, down the front here, the boundary pushing to the east with that cold front. You can see a lot of rainfall potential here with some heavier thunderstorms, even some backwash moisture here across portions of the Dakotas where we could see some, stratiform type rains, maybe some embedded thunderstorms with some cooler air being pulled in with this system on the backside here, relatively speaking here through the summer months. And then here, as we head into our Tuesday, the slight risk zone pushes down to the south. We have northwestern Illinois, western Illinois, south central portions there, Wisconsin, eastern Iowa, getting all the way down into the Texas Panhandle, northern Oklahoma, and then that enhanced risk zone across north central portions there in Missouri, eastern portions and southeastern Kansas, and to far northeastern Oklahoma. And that will yield another threat for severe weather during the afternoon as a frontal boundary will be coming in here from the west, that cold front, and along and ahead of that, a lot of warmth and moisture here pooling up with the dew points rising well into the 60s and 70s here across the area. And I'll show you that now. Here we have temperatures rising well into the 70s, some lower 80s across this area, and coupled with upper 60s to lower 70 dew points across a widespread area from the upper Midwest, the western Great Lakes, all the way down here into the Missouri Valley, portions of the southern plains, Dallas, Texas, down towards portions here of, Houston, over towards Shreveport. We could have dew points in the mid 70s as we head into our Tuesday. So some very high moisture content across this area, and a lot of instability here ahead of the front. We got instability widespread, 2,000 to 3,000 joule per kilogram instability, even higher values into western portions of Oklahoma there into the Texas Panhandle, where we could have up to locally 4,500 joule per kilogram instability across those areas here. So some explosive storms possible, and still that strong and unseasonably strong low, mid, and upper level jet really punching right into these storms. A little weaker though than on Monday, but still some pretty strong dynamics coming together with the deep layer shear, and should here serve for some organized updrafts across these areas for Tuesday afternoon. So looking at this mid to late afternoon, some storms starting to pop up across portions of eastern and northeastern Kansas, northwestern Missouri. But as we head towards the late afternoon, early evening, start to see some storms popping up across southeastern Iowa, northwest Illinois, getting up into Wisconsin, down through northern Missouri here. And these will start to consolidate a little bit with an attendant, damaging wind threat, gusts that could be in excess of 60 miles per hour. We could have some large hail up to 2-inch diameter, and maybe even here the potential of a couple tornadoes, especially up into portions of the Missouri Valley into the western Great Lakes region here, where a lot more of that wind shear will be in the low levels, and still explosive storms down here into portions of the Texas Panhandle into western Oklahoma here as well, with some very large hail producers potentially here in this area. And this enhanced risk may be expanding here with the new updates coming from the Storm Prediction Center overnight, so we'll have to watch that. And storms will continue to kind of rumble through portions of the Missouri Valley, the Illinois Valley, and getting down to the southern and central plains here as we head to the overnight hours as well. And like I said, supercells are possible with this here. Some values are showing up. We do have a threat for some tornadoes potentially from the Illinois Valley down through the Missouri Valley and the southern plains. One or two of these tornadoes here may be on the ground for a longer period of time. We'll have to see here. Not really showing a lot of strong shear here in the low levels across southern portions of this area, but up into the Illinois Valley, the western Great Lakes, and the Missouri Valley, maybe more of a wind threat, but still a chance of a couple of tornadoes across this area here during that time as well. And then looking here on our Tuesday, the Weather Prediction Center does show a marginal risk for flash flooding across western Illinois, much of Missouri, getting into southeastern Kansas, much of Oklahoma, and then getting in toward the Texas Panhandle, northwest Texas here, kind of around the Wichita Falls area, getting up toward the Oklahoma City area, just north of St. Louis, portions here of Springfield, Missouri, Joplin, getting over toward the Wichita area. You got to be watching out for the flash flooding threat. A lot of heavy rainfall potential across northern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, into central Missouri as we head to our Tuesday. This is Tuesday's outlook alone here for the precipitation forecast. We could see up to around 2 to 3 inches of rainfall potentially across these areas around Wichita, getting down toward Oklahoma City, Tulsa, El Reno, Oklahoma, Woodward, Kansas, and then inching back here into portions of the eastern Texas Panhandle, maybe up to 1.25 inches of rainfall across those areas. So some pretty heavy rainfall is expected here as we head to our Tuesday. Then as this front starts to settle very slowly to the south here, this frontal boundary, we could have some more, isolated type severe weather across the Ohio Valley, getting down to the Tennessee Valley. Still kind of too early to discern whether or not it'll be more of an organized severe weather threat or just kind of bubblers and some isolated, pop-up severe thunderstorms. But still, we can kind of show you kind of outlining the storm threat as we head towards, the Ohio Valley into the Tennessee Valley here on Wednesday. And then this front will kind of slowly sag to the south into the Tennessee Valley, into the southeast here on Thursday, and then on Friday finally approaching the Gulf Coast states into the southeast, maybe a localized severe weather threat there as well. So kind of some here, a lot of days of severe weather coming up here, so do want to be mindful of that. And then the high pressure system will kind of fill in behind that here towards next weekend, bringing some quieter weather for portions of the Great Lakes in the center of the country as we head towards next weekend. In general, over the next 7 days, we could be expecting some pretty heavy rainfall, really centered on Kansas, western portions of Missouri, into north central Oklahoma, getting into the eastern and northern portions of the Texas Panhandle. We could see upwards of about 4 to 5 inches of rainfall across portions of northern and Oklahoma, and southern and southeastern Kansas, into western and southwestern portions there of Missouri. Also some heavier rainfall up into portions of the northern plains with the next couple of days here with the severe weather. And do notice a lot of moisture across the southeast, especially the southern tip of Florida there around Miami, getting up toward Tampa. We do have to watch for some tropical rains, maybe some tropical systems here starting to get together as we head towards next weekend as well. So I'll be covering that here as we head in the next video update here in the next couple of days. But I did want to get you here kind of the severe weather outlook here and kind of show you and break down all the severe weather threats heading through the next 5 to 7 days or so. So do be sure to like my video. I do appreciate you guys doing that. that here, give me a nice thumbs up, leave any of your comments and questions below, and do remember to subscribe to my channel to catch all the latest weather forecast updates coming up here later this week. So thank you for watching, and have a great Memorial Day, everybody.